A note: following advice from Work-Life Imbalance may lead to action being taken by HR, your family, the authorities, or higher powers.
Welcome to Work-Life Imbalance, an advice show focusing on workplace and lifestyle issues. Any resemblance to actual advice, living or dead, or actual wisdom is purely coincidental. I'm your monstrous manager, Frank Eastman.
And I'm your lovable office companion, Derek Lewis.
We'll be addressing some audience questions and taking on a few issues from the internet. But first, time for the daily stand-up.
What you got for me, Frank?
Today, Derek, I'd like to talk about, well, it's March. And we know that March is a time for madness.
I have heard that. It's never the fever, whatever madness is has never quite reached me. But I've heard tale. Maybe you could describe it a little bit better for me.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what sort of madness everybody else gets, but I managed to find, and I have realized why I found it, but at the time I kind of stumbled across the most buck wild fucking thing I had ever seen in my life.
That's a bold claim.
It is a bold claim, but I'm going to stand by it. It is a 1969 anime called Dororo. Have you heard of this?
Until recently, no, I hadn't heard of Dororo, because it just hadn't come up on my radar. But I believe it's Osamu Tezuka, isn't it?
It is.
And I had not really heard of it. I'd seen some other stuff like Astro Boy, but then they actually recently rebooted, just a few weeks ago, started playing a new series of a rebooted Dororo. So then that's when I learned what it was, but I still haven't seen it.
So I didn't know why this suddenly crossed my path, but I guess some algorithms or whatever had picked up on the new one, and I hadn't heard about it until I had to look it up. Because I was clicking around, and I saw this, and I was like, man, I've never heard of this. This looks old. And then, the cover art comes up, and I'm like, man, this is some classic Astro Boy style shit with, very
way back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day, the very round features, and it's a very stylistic sort of thing that he's got going on.
Absolutely.
And this is specifically Osamu Tezuka, who he's got a very distinct style, but that style also says to me 1960s kid cartoon.
Right, because that's basically what it was. There weren't a lot of people in the anime game in 1969, so a lot of the stuff that was out back then was Osamu Tezuka, and he has a very, very distinct style. Everything that he has that similar flair to it,
right?
Or that
giant,
similar, like I said, roundness.
Yeah, it's got a roundness to it. The eyes are all gigantic with enormous eyes with huge lashes coming off of them, and they look very cartoon character.
Betty Boop-esque, if I were to say.
It's definitely Betty Boop. And the animation style coming from that, decade is similar to other cartoons that have come out of those decades, like Looney Tunes and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
It's got that same sort of motion feel due to the number of frames per second and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm just like, I don't know what this is. I'll click on it. So I start watching it. Sight unseen, have absolutely no idea what the fuck this is.
The old one or the new one?
The old one.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, it's definitely stylish, and I'm liking it. It's 1960s. It's got those round features. The characters are being animated with that kind of broad stroke cartoon action where it's like if someone is running very fast, their legs just become a little circle under them.
Do they really?
Yeah, seriously. all the characters have like these gigantic features, you know, like huge bulbous nose and
Right.
you know, they look like Popeye and things like that. And I'm like, I wonder what the hell this is. And this dude is walking along, and then there's a bunch of samurai and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, what's going to go on? And then his fucking arms fly off, turning into gigantic swords, and he just starts decapitating and slicing people in half in like photorealistic fucking detail. Like they are, this is lovingly constructed detail, and I'm just sitting here like, this is the most metal goddamn thing I have ever seen, and yet it's in this Astro Boy-esque sort of mean.
Right. It's absolutely something that you would not see inside of his normal works like Astro Boy. But like he basically takes everything from Astro Boy and just adds like gore. Like
yeah.
It is buck wild.
I was just sitting there with my mouth open going, this is the most insane fucking thing I have ever seen in my life. And even the story is metal as hell. Like the basic story of this is like dude's dad decides to sacrifice, you know, his unborn child to 48 demons to get control of shogunate Japan. And then the kid is born as a blob that has nothing. It's just like a flesh nugget. And I'm like,
no skin, no face, no arms, like can't see, can't hear, nothing.
I'm
just
like,
completely nothing.
This is some hardcore metal shit, man.
It is.
This is freaking my bean a little bit.
It is fucking rough to begin with.
Oh boy. I'm just like, wow. And then there, like, that is the person who, you know, that character is not actually the title character. The title character, Dororo, is like this 6-year-old thief. And so it's a little kid, you know, it's drawn to be a little kid, is actually a little kid. And there's just people beating the shit out of this kid. Like,
dude, the kid, like,
enormously
first
violently.
episode.
Yeah, first episode, like right off the bat, they're just like, we're going to lovingly detail render some people just beating the shit out of a small child. And I'm like, wow, okay, we've got some different sensibilities in 1960s Japan than we do today.
Yeah. So yeah, this little kid gets a shit beat out of him, and you know, so the actual, you know, the son of the shogun, like warlord, his name was Hyakimaru or Hakimaru, Hayakimaru, and he was born without like anything, but like you at least so let me say this. So my exposure has been from the new anime, and just thinking about it for a second, like I can imagine how unbelievably weird that dichotomy must be, because in the new one, it's drawn like a normal like shonen anime. Like it's like it's got like, you know, Dororo is like an adorable little kid who's still getting the shit beat out of him, but it looks by all other measures to be a normal shonen anime. So like when people start getting chopped up, like it's not surprising so much.
Yeah, it's not like someone just spit roasted Popeye.
Right. But like imagining that super cartoony, just like complete Astro Boy feel, and then all of a sudden to see people just start getting sliced up left and right. That would be a weird dichotomy, I think.
And not to go too far into baseball for folks that haven't seen this, but I also looked at the 2019 one because I was curious, and the first episodes are kind of similar. So there's that point where there's like the group of thugs that are beating up Dororo and start to drown Dororo in the river.
Yeah, straight up trying to kill this kid.
Straight up trying to murder a child. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go hard real fast in this thing.
Just right out the gate.
So the big burly guy that is in that scene is drawn, again, in kind of this super cartoon style with the bulbous nose and all kinds of stuff like that. And they're similar in structure. You can definitely tell that they intended these to be the same person, just in a different art style. Mm-hmm. In that one, he doesn't just get like sucked up by the river monster. The river monster melts him in, again, lovingly rendered close-up detail of the flesh melting off of this fucker's bones, and then near photorealistic, like, skull.
Wow.
Of this guy who looks a lot more real, like it's a much more realistic skull than the face that happened to be attached to that fucker beforehand. And like in the new one, they're like, man, that's a little too graphic. We're just going, we're gonna have him get eaten by the monster.
I think they must have gone like scene by scene, and like they had two piles. Like they had stuff we're gonna keep, and stuff that just is kind of unnecessarily graphic. And like, okay, head's getting chopped off, not too bad. It adds some flair. We'll keep that in the we're okay pile. Guy melting in photorealistic detail. Let's put that, you know what? Just we'll put that in the maybe pile.
We'll put that to the side.
We'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. It's just the wildest thing to have seen those things side by side. Now looking it up.
And it's not that I haven't seen worse. Like there's some other anime that are by far more graphic, like, Berserk and other such, like super brutal shonen anime. There are many of them, but to realize that this was originally a concept and done by Osamu Tezuka, like who everybody knows is just like they know him for Astro Boy. That's what most people think of. And then to realize that the guy that made one of the most beloved anime from the 60s also made one of the most brutal animes of the same time. Like, it's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah. And like I had started doing a little bit of research because I don't like to necessarily come completely unprepared. And there were a few episodes of Astro Boy that didn't air in the U.S. port because there were a few things in there that, the American sensibilities were like, nah, I think we're going to go ahead and skip this. Like, that one episode apparently had like an operation being performed on a dog for experiment's sake or something, and they're like, no, we can't show that in America. And it actually offended Tezuka because he's like,
you get all or nothing.
Yeah, or a little bit just kind of like, you're going to come back on us about that when y'all do the shit that you do? All right.
Which I mean, fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, this was in the 60s, like less than a generation from when we nuked the fuck out of Japan. So like there were some hurt feelings on some of that.
Yeah. It was a different time, I guess, in some respects. And
hopefully it stays a different time. There's some uncertainty about that going forward, but let's hope we can keep this timeline from repeating mistakes.
But if you want your bean completely freaked, as I said, go back and watch. I think it's on Prime right now, and you can find it in a couple of other places. But watch the original 1960s version of that, and it's just, it is
I'll have to.
Uncomfortable. The sort of...
the detail.
Yeah, just the detail where it's like, Dororo comes running by and his little legs have become a circle, and he goes running past like very detailed renderings of some dead, rotting, starving people. And I'm like,
right. Just pulling no punches whatsoever.
Man, you're not even going to necessarily address the fact that these two things are in completely different animated styles, are we? Right. We're just not going to address that at all. Like, there's no unity of style here. We're going to take all the brutal shit and we're going to put that in this interesting photorealistic style. And then the characters are going to have the giant eyes with the humongous eyelashes coming off of them, and they're all going to look like they're very happy and perky, and like butterflies are going to come by at any moment.
I feel that there was at least, a couple of generations of Japanese kids that like, I don't know if people just thought they could handle more, or if like they knew that they could handle more and didn't need to be coddled like we kind of do in America. But there were a few generations where like you didn't have to, like you couldn't see a penis or a vagina, but anything other than that was pretty much carte blanche. Like you could show like gore. I mean, I guess they kept it tasteful, I suppose.
I mean, this wasn't fucking tasteful. I'll tell you that right now. I watched it and was kind of like, man,
It'll put you off your feed.
Exactly. I'm a grown ass man. I think I'm gonna put this ham sandwich down for a second.
Yeah, I think Japanese kids were or are a little more durable than people think American kids are. Which, I mean, fair point. Like, I remember watching like some anime when I was like 10 or 11, and I think it was like Vampire Hunter D or something. And
yeah, that's
like,
a little real.
And like playing it, thinking, oh, this is a cartoon, but it's different than a normal cartoon. Watch like most of it and like pause it halfway through while I was just like huddled in a ball thinking,
oh God,
this is not something for children. Like, why did I watch this? But maybe they're right. Maybe American kids are coddled and have been their brains are too sensitive for those type of things.
I guess you can get over a lot of stuff. Like I read 1984 when I was like 8.
Can I say that explains a lot? Like
I think it might actually do. Yeah, I was reading like 1984 and Animal Farm and shit. And in my defense, when I picked it up, the title didn't necessarily say a novel, so I thought it was. And I remember this clearly. I picked it up, going, "Oh, I think this is the Guinness Book of World Records from 1984."
Oh, whoops.
And then, yeah, that was not a kid's book. All right. Want to get to an audience question?
Hit me with it.
I have a coworker who does maybe 10% of a project, and I'm being generous here, while I do almost all of it, and he takes credit for all my work during our weekly company-wide meetings. I can't necessarily stop doing my share of the work, or I'd be creating problems for myself to rush and get things done. How do I deal with this credit thief? Sent in by Adri.
I'll make a note that while you were talking about this credit thief, I literally just wrote down the word murder and underlined it a couple of times.
I mean, that is one solution, generally a frowned upon solution in multiple directions. Like HR is not going to like it.
So the thing about murder is that, sure, like I guess across the board you can say murder, maybe not your first option, maybe not always the best option, but just because you kill him doesn't mean you're going to go to jail. There are justifiable homicides, and I think you've got a decently strong case. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree. Yeah, because there's nothing I hate more than a credit thief.
I mean, okay. I think credit thief and hot pocket thief are probably very close to the same level, but I will agree. A credit thief is a different animal because you have poured your sweat, your anxiety, as the case is probably more appropriately put, into this work, and all of a sudden, at this meeting where I'm assuming that you can't just like during the meeting stop it and say, wait, this bastard just claimed all of our work that belongs to the entire team, type of thing.
That's difficult. Although, I think it's difficult because most people have the social anxiety that's going to keep them from making those waves. Like there's
if
not
by most
really.
people you mean me, you're right.
Well, Derek, I think we should be buddies on a couple of projects coming up.
Because you're not afraid to say those things, or because you would love to take my. Now I get it. You want to take credit for the things that I do. I see.
And I know for a fact that you won't say anything about it.
That's true, but as we talked about before, you are typically you know the power that you possess, but you wield it very responsibly. And I feel that is an irresponsible use of your power. You don't want to go for easy targets. You want to hunt. You don't want to feed.
Exactly. So, what kind of kid were you? Were you, in the group projects in school and college?
Oh, absolutely.
You were the kid that did everything?
Yes, I was the child, and all the way up to, like you said, college. Like, I would be the one that no matter what, like, even if people were slacking, I would do as much work as needed to be done in order for us to get a good grade, because I did not have, I don't know whether it's like personal fortitude or I just didn't want to disappoint people. So like, I wasn't willing to take a bad grade. So yes, I would work overtime. I would put in a lot of extra effort, and one person did the work, 4 people take the credit. I'm fuming on the inside, but on the outside, I'm like, thank God nobody was disappointed in me.
See, I was not necessarily the kid that pulled everything during the group project.
Okay.
I had a couple of experiences that sort of kept me from being that person. One of them was where there was a group project, and I've spoken before the fact that I didn't grow up rural, but it was rural adjacent.
Right. It was northern rural.
Right. I could see the boondocks from my backyard, as it were.
Right.
And we had a group project in high school, and I was going over to the person's house who was gathering all the people to do the group project. Mm-hmm. And in trying to get to their house, I got stuck in the mud. 'Cause that's how it be sometimes, Derek. Not my physical body, but my vehicle.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just have the image of like Frank Eastman, the way you look now, but scaled down to like a 10-year-old version of you, like walking to somewhere and just like stepping into a mud puddle and sinking up to your knees and just being like, I guess I live here now. Like, I don't know why. That is the funniest fucking thing I've heard all day. Like this.
It took me 10 years to get out of that mud hole, Derek. But eventually I did. Back to the why I started telling the story of my getting stuck in the mud hole. Everybody else had to complete this group project without me.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't necessarily feel overly guilty about not being present, because I was like, there was not a fuck lot I could do. I wasn't just off playing around. I was legitimately stuck and prevented from arriving to do my part of the group project.
Right.
And one of the people on the group project was that person who is the person that's going to make sure that the group project happens, even if they're the only person that does any work on it.
Sure.
And so
there's always got to be one. Honestly, every group has one of those people, lest all other group projects would fail.
Yeah, so it was mostly this one person's effort, and then I think there was supposed to be 4 of us working on it. I was stuck. They were doing most of the work. One other person showed up and had been hoping to ride some coattails. And that's always an unfortunate position when you're like, I'm just going to coast.
Oh, shit.
And then one other person who was, honestly just faffing off. They were like, no, I'm not going to bother to show up. So somebody else had to pull the weight, and I didn't pull any of the weight, and I got the credit, and I was like,
jackpot.
So this is what that's like.
You learned how sweet that could be.
This is a flavor that I was not accustomed to. All these many years of eating the vanilla, and I have now tried the rocky road.
Oh, I can see that being truly and deeply formative for you, Frank. But in this person's case, how do we prevent this person from? It seems like they do this all the time. They take credit for the work at every weekly meeting. How do they consistently keep getting away with it? That's my question. Because
obviously you need to throw them in a mud hole.
Even as non-confrontational as I am, like, I think after, I don't know, maybe the 10th time this happened, I might be like, hey, you're claiming that you did all the work when really it was both of us. Let's talk about that. I think I would eventually get to that point. Why would this person not just like have a conversation about that?
As I said, like, fear of social awkwardness keeps a lot of people from doing things that they definitely should do.
Uh-huh.
So a solution that does not involve being socially awkward and having, conversations with people.
I'm very interested in this solution.
It's actually going to be more difficult because you're going to have to do the project twice. And one of the times, you do it wrong.
Oh, okay.
And then you do it because you're doing most of the work anyway. So, on the one that you're working with the thief, you specifically introduce a lot of errors. So it's going to go sideways when it gets presented. And then you do it correctly on your own and back channel that shit to the boss.
Oh, I like this for a lot of reasons. Specifically with software, that could be done fairly easily. In that meeting, I want as many like bold red flags as possible. Like, I want this person to look like a fool for demoing this product that they had no part in actually constructing. The good
news is if they're only putting in 10% most of the time, they're probably not going to be knowledgeable enough about it to catch any of the bullshit that you put in there.
Absolutely. But yes, I think that the right answer here is if talking to this person is not something that you feel will work or that you are socially equipped to do, then you need to sabotage. I think that's the only other answer. I mean, I still stick by first and best answer of murder, but if you want to go with the slightly less permanent option, then sabotage.
Let's do an issue from the internet.
All right, this one is titled Having Lunch at Home by Radwin. I live near my employer's office. All I need to do to reach home is walk for 5 minutes. I will say, like, that already puts it.
That's about 4.5 minutes longer than I want to walk.
Exactly, I was about to say. To get straight to the point, I prefer having lunch at home. It costs me way less money than going to restaurants. I can eat healthy. Let me redo that sentence. I can eat healthy, prepared food, and I'm able to attend to my home. Which, I mean, I guess it means, like, clean dishes and shit. My colleagues take it badly when I don't have lunch with them. My team leader actually sees this behavior as one of a person who's not well integrated into the team. She even started making unnecessary remarks about it. I currently go home during lunchtime about once or twice every 2 weeks. Though infrequent, this causes issues. How can I deal with this situation? How can I express my needs correctly?
Now, I will say, when you started reading and we got to the I can go home and eat healthy, I was behind the microphone doing the jerk-off gesture. But then we moved forward to the I do this once every 2 weeks, and my team lead is getting pissed about it.
It's all about perspective.
It is. Like, it moved the window over enough where I'm like, that is weird.
Yeah, because I mean, yes, if somebody literally goes home every single day because of the reasons of, healthy food or, just have shit to do around the house and don't want to go to restaurants, like, maybe that can be like, okay, you need to integrate with the team a little bit more. If everyone wants to eat out, maybe try to make a habit of doing it once in a while. But this is literally the opposite of this person. Like, maybe once every couple of weeks, like 4 times a month tops, they're eating lunch at home and people are freaking the fuck out. Like,
yeah, that's bizarre. Either this person is lying, which is, I suppose, possible. It is the internet, and sometimes people do that, although
I don't believe
rare. I mean, so on probably one of my best integrated teams, like, folks on the team would go out to eat a lot, I would say, but even then it was like maybe once a week or so.
Right.
And I don't go out to eat a lot. That's just like a thing with me, especially like work lunches and stuff, mostly because I'm lazy.
Not even funny. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
where it's like, hey, let's
totally.
go to lunch. And I'm like, we got an hour and it's going to take me 10 minutes to walk to my car. So we've got 20 minutes worth of walking for a 1 hour lunch. Then we got to drive. We got to park. I just can't put up with that kind of pressure, guys. Like, and I would regularly be like, everybody's going to lunch. And I would say, no, it's all right. Thanks. Thanks for the invite, but I've got lunch that I'm just going to eat here. And I usually packed my lunch.
Sure.
But I would, on occasion, and it was a studied, measured occasion, I would say every third time someone would say, hey, do you want to go out and get something to eat? I would say yes, just so that I maintained sort of that open integration with the team.
Right. And I mean, that's a decent way to handle it. I think that does present some issues with people like maybe gaming your system of like, hey, Frank, you want to go to lunch? No. Hey, Frank, you want to go out to lunch? No. Hey, Frank, you want to go out to lunch? Yes. Shit.
Yeah, I don't let people know my system, but
okay,
yeah.
okay. It's a secret system. Okay, so
It's a secret system.
That'll keep him from exploiting the glitch in the system. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of the same way. Like I do enjoy people. Like I've said it multiple times. I enjoy people, but like I am in so many meetings where I have to talk to people that like the thought of going out with my team and like fraternizing at lunch, I mean, just from like a social mental exertion point of it, like it just is not conducive. Like now I'm on a team where nobody talks to anybody. It's great. Like I don't think we've gone to lunch. I've been on the team for almost a year. We've literally been to lunch twice.
Yeah, in the last year, I think I've gone out to lunch with anyone from the office twice, and both of those times were my boss within the first 2 weeks of my starting. But I think I have a solution for this person. What you need to do is find some sort of rank food that no one else on the team likes. And it might take a little bit of trial and error. You might, have to say, hey, let's all go down to the vegan root bar or something, where it's just root-based vegetables.
Oh, God. Oh.
And when everybody else is like, no, that's okay, I don't want to go there, you're like, all right, cool. And then, once a week or so, you're like, hey, everybody, let's go down to Vicky's Vegan Root Bar and get lunch. And when everybody else is like, no, that's okay, you'll be like, all right, I suppose, if the rest of you don't want to come, that's fine. And then you walk your happy ass home and eat something.
Okay, so it is setting up the illusion that you are participating and doing the right thing by engaging your team in that way. But in reality, you're setting up a false choice for them that there's no way. There's very little chance of them ever accepting it.
Exactly.
The only problem, I think this is the risk, one of the riskiest things that we've said on this podcast, because what if they say yes? What if they're like, you know what? I've decided to turn over a new leaf and I'm going to not hate on vegan food. Let's all go. We've said no so many times. Let's go to your favorite place this time. And so everybody decides to go to the vegan root bar. Then you have to go to the vegan root bar.
I was going to say, into everyone's life, a little raw turmeric tuber stew must fall.
I mean, and the problem is it's going to be like $30. So like, I don't know if I could risk that.
It's a roll of the dice. I get you, but it's. I'm just putting it out there as an option.
I guess it's low risk, low reward, and the opposite of high risk, high reward. this has the chance of buying you all the leeway you will ever need, but at the same time, it carries the highest risk of failing. Sometimes that's just how life be.
I'm thinking the other option is that you just turn your house into a small restaurant.
Okay.
And you just invite the team over. You make that healthy, tasty food for everyone.
I mean, legitimately, like that's not like the worst option. I mean, so you get to set your own prices. So you could possibly, make some decent extra scratch. You don't have to change the menu for them. You just have to cook a little extra. I think this isn't too bad. The only thing I would be concerned with is then you do have people coming to your home, which I don't know about you. That's not exactly my favorite thing, but
the only thing I can think of to solve that particular part of the problem, Derek, is you need a second apartment.
Here we go. So after a couple of these leaps, I think what you're saying is that they should get another apartment and literally just open up their own restaurant. Like,
yeah, and I guess it's going to be hard to get the appropriate zoning, and so maybe not a second apartment. You're just going to end up having to own a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way to get out of this. You have to open your own restaurant and treat that like your home.
I will say there was a restaurant in one of the office parks around here, and we had discovered it. I think because of Groupon. You remember Groupon, that thing that people were really into 5 years ago? And we had gotten a Groupon for this restaurant. Okay, cool. Well, then we started looking into the restaurant, and the restaurant was in an office park, in an office.
Right.
Like, it was
in the building,
a converted office.
Well, the one that was in the building that used to be in, that one was very similar, except it was like even more bizarre because the person that ran it, like, I don't know how they got the building to agree to this, but they agreed to let them have that little restaurant in there, but they wouldn't let them have any actual like cooking apparatuses. So like not even like a hot dog roller. Like they literally would only let them have like crock pots. Like not even a fucking hot plate. And so they had, it was a series of crock pots. So the macaroni and cheese was in a crock pot. The beef stew was in a crock pot. The hamburgers, you guessed it, cooked in a fucking crock pot.
No.
So when he pulled I have never in my life experienced a hamburger quite this texture. And I'm not saying that like I've been looking for that, but it's just like I have never experienced that texture again.
Where
it's
have
like,
you been all my life?
It was like, I don't know what this texture is. Like, I know this is beef. Why does it feel like some sort of like cornbread? Like it was the weirdest texture ever.
Yeah.
It did not taste like a hamburger or anything. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not saying this is good, but occasionally I will crave exactly this. And that's unfortunate.
So with that kind of thing, there's the making it work where it's like, okay, they're only going to let us use crock pots, so we're going to cook everything in crock pots, but we're going to have offerings that are usual offerings.
Right.
The next level of that is you now have a concept restaurant.
Right. Okay.
Where the name of the restaurant is Crock Pot. And we only serve stews.
I would think you could get like some really good fondues in there.
Yeah, like everything is got to be, you have to be able to make it in a crock pot, and then you serve it in the little tiny crock pots.
I mean, I could totally get behind that, to be honest. Like, I would probably go. It's kind of like the melting pot, but like, personal pan pizza sized, and I can get behind that. That's really cool. I will say I will push back on them ever trying to do some sort of like hamburger-esque thing, because that was an atrocity, the likes of which have not been seen in many decades.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's you can laud someone for trying to make it work, but that's a lack of vision. Like, you need to go beyond in order to really embrace the limitation.
They should have gone from functional to inspirational.
Exactly. It's transformative that way. I'm here for that, and now I kind of want to see a crockpot based restaurant.
Who knows? I mean, maybe we can be the wonderful things in this life that we want to see. Maybe we can eventually start our own. Of course, we may have to buy a few more crock pots, because I've only got one. But let's start a GoFundMe for our own crock pot based restaurant. We will need the crock pots. We will need enough money to hire people who know how to cook with crock pots. Because I clearly don't.
Let's see. Soccer moms from the 1980s.
It's good. It's good. They're probably pretty bored about now, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Want to get to an audience question, Derek?
Let's do it.
If QRSTUVWX, then why Z? From Sean at What Does It Matter?
Oh, fuck me.
Why Z, though, Derek? Why?
So we discussed this a few days ago, how absurdist humor is not my strong suit. I think we have hit that roadblock.
I mean, my answer to this is ABC. D.
Short and sweet.
Play with me, Derek. Play with me.
I'm trying. I don't know how. Oh. Okay. All right. I am focused. Read the question one more time.
If QRSTUVWX, then why Z?
And my honest answer is because that's just the way the fucking song goes. Like, I don't know.
But who made this decision, Derek? Who put the alphabet in alphabetical order?
I mean, that is a very valid question, because, literally from my earliest memories are saying the letters in a particular order. And it's gotten to the point where, like, that is literally the only order in which these letters can be the alphabet. I guess, words technically are those letters in other order, but it's not what I mean. I mean that for reciting the alphabet, there is only one proper order. And like, to the extent that whenever you're pulled over by a policeman to do a sobriety test, they will ask you to recite the alphabet forwards and backwards. And honestly, if we were living in a world where the alphabet was not the alphabet, that would be a really weird question, wouldn't it?
It would be a very weird question, and I can say this. Stone cold fucking sober, I would get pinched on one of those tests because I cannot do the alphabet backwards.
I have never driven buzzed or drunk in my entire life. I've spent, I've probably like sat on a couch for an hour to be, if I had like one drink, I would sit on the couch for an hour before I left just to make sure. Like, I've been extremely careful about not doing that. With that in mind, I will occasionally practice the field sobriety test that I know of. Because the thing is, like, I'm never drunk when I drive. Therefore, I have to be absolutely sure that nobody thinks that I am. Because it would be a really bad look. Like, it'd be hard to prove. Like, it's like, sir, I'm 100% stone cold sober. I
That's
have a
what
bad
all the
memory.
drunkies say.
Exactly. That's exactly what a drunk person would say. But like, I don't have a great memory. I wouldn't say I have fantastic coordination. Like the whole like if they asked me to stick my arms out and lean my head back and close my eyes and not fall over, that'd be a bridge too far. Like my balance very much so dependent on my vision. So that would be, I practice it in order to make sure that when the time comes, it never has. Like I've never been asked to do a field sobriety test, but in the case that it does, I will be able to rely on muscle memory to complete them.
See, I guess you're one up on me, Derek. I just at some point accepted that my physical and mental capabilities were such that I probably shouldn't be operating a motor vehicle anyway.
So, thinking about kind of the basis of the idea of an order to the alphabet, for some reason, it kind of strikes me that it's kind of a similar thing to like the Star Wars movies, how you have, there is an order in which, because they are numbered by episode. So 1 through 9 or 10 or whatever we're up to, you assume that you should watch them in that order. But they have like all these weird like fan-made orders about like the order in which you should watch them to get the best chronological understanding of the story, to get the best experience out of the movies. And I feel something like that could probably be done to the alphabet, to be honest. Like, I don't know what it would look like, but I feel like you could put them in a better order.
I mean, I think if we're going to do the Star Wars on it, because the appropriate order to watch Star Wars is 4, 5, 6, and then you watch the Clone Wars cartoon, and that's it.
And then nothing else.
And that's it. So I think we do the same thing with the alphabet, and we just start, like, we're just going to jettison some letters. There's some shit in here that we don't need. There's literal chaff. Like,
right.
Who needs X? We got other things that we can do with X. Q is questionable.
Absolutely. Definitely. I would say that Z is probably bad. I mean, I will be honest, it's a little bit selfish of me to say that Z needs to be gone, specifically because I get confused between like Z's and S's so very often. Like authorized. Like, is it a Z? Is it an S? Like, there's not a good rule.
Depends on if you're British.
It does. So I think that Z could be gone and we wouldn't miss it. I would say pick one. I would say let's get rid of C or K, one of the two, because
I'm with you.
You don't really need both. What else we got?
I mean, Greek originally didn't have H.
So my only concern with that is that then how would you mimic the ch specifically? Like sh, I think, you can do TIA like that. That is probably fine. We can mimic a sh without an H, but the ch, I think that's a little tougher.
We're just going to have to use 2 eyes, and then we'll put them in angles.
Okay. All right.
So that they cross each other.
I mean, I think we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So I think maybe H needs to stay. I would say we could throw out either M or N. Just pick one of the two, because they cause so many problems. Like whenever you're repeating like your VIN number to like insurance companies or something like that. So you're going to have to spend so much time clarifying which one you mean, M or N, that one of them needs to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's going to make the word mnemonic relatively difficult, but I think we'll be all right.
Why'd you have to come up with the one example that would make it not work? God. All right. So we'll spitball it, but I mean, what do you think? I would say we could get easily an 80% reduction in alphabetical complexity.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably reduce it. I'm gonna go with a 20, 80-20. We'll keep 80 and cut maybe 20, but I'm naturally conservative in that way. But I think even a 20% reduction in alphabetic weight would assist us.
I don't know what alphabetic weight is.
You know, the number of letters that we have in the alphabet.
Oh, I guess I could have guessed that by context clues, but honestly, it just felt like you're kind of being condescending and using your English talk at me.
Nope, not a term, but it's a good term because it sounds like it should be a term.
Is that not a real term?
No.
You fucker, I trust you. You can't just make shit up.
Do we have any ideas for reordering? Because I'm thinking we put all the round things together.
Absolutely.
It's just going to be more visually nice, you know, like the O. We could put that, you know, if we keep the Q, the O and the Q being next to each other, I think would look pretty good. But we put the pointy things
next to each other for sure. I mean, to be honest, I would have to see it after all the extraneous letters were removed. But I feel that we could do a mild reshuffling in order to make them more appealing. But
we toss out W and then we just put two V's next to each other. Old school.
I'm gonna push back on that. I think that one of the few letters that we added that actually were a good choice was adding W. Even though I mean, just saying W, I get it. It's kind of silly, but
because it's not two U's, is it?
It's
Derek?
two V's. I know.
It is.
I know. That's why, which is so weird. Like, I don't know why we don't do what other countries do, which is W. Like, it is literally double V, but we call it W. I want some linguistics person to write into the podcast and explain to me why we fucked the pooch on that one. Like, it's so obvious. Why?
I mean, we could do it like Canada does Z, and we'll just call it WED.
No, nope. Sorry, Canada. I love you. But that's fucking dumb. just carte blanche. Every time I hear somebody say Z, I'm like, you're just trying to be different. You're just trying to be weird. Good Lord.
Derek, you want to get to an issue from the internet?
Fine. Can we put a rule that you can no longer pretend to say words that sound like they're actually something in linguistics or English? Because we talked about this before. I trust you, Frank, and I'm a little shaken right now, to be honest.
No malapropisms.
See, I know that's a word, but I don't know if you're using it right, and I can't trust you right now.
Just get to the issue.
Anyway, so this one is entitled, What to Do After I Signed a Blank Sheet of Paper Given to Me by My Manager, by Susan. Last week, my manager called me to sign a warning letter about a small issue that is not my fault and not part of my job description. I refused to sign, and my manager told me to discuss this the next day. The next day, I met with my manager, and after some discussion, she told me, do not worry, it is not a big deal. Just sign this paper, and I will write the warning paragraph later. I have signed a completely blank sheet of paper. Not even a warning form. It is a completely blank piece of paper. Yes, this is the most idiotic and stupid act that anyone could do. Gonna go out on a limb and say that's not true, but I have now realized how dangerous what I did is. I don't know what I should do now.
Wow. This is fucked up.
I can't tell if you're being like facetious or
No, this is just like, this is indeed buck wild. Like,
so I mean, I think that the obvious, yes, this is wild. Like, I can't imagine anyone doing this for any proper reason. Like, even if you trusted them to then write a proper warning paragraph after the fact, like, I don't think that you should have done this.
Do you trust me, Derek?
Of course not. Of course I don't. Like,
So
you did
what you're saying is you're not going to just sign your name on a piece of paper and hand it to me.
No, clearly not. I mean, especially not you, because for all I know, you're gonna like do some sort of like cult style contract that I don't know, signs away my mortal soul, which I know you are, or my Kia soul, which I do have now. I actually did buy a Kia soul, so that would be even worse. Like you threaten my soul,
using your soul,
and then you
but
threaten
I guess
my Kia soul.
I'm going to get me that new hatchback crossover. I don't even know what the fuck those things are supposed to be, man.
It is a subcompact hatchback. Thank you very much. And no, by both meanings of the word, you cannot have my soul. So, I mean, maybe you could sign up for a gym membership, and kind of burn me that way. But I don't know. There's nothing good that I would trust you with my signature with. But the thing is, like, we live in an age where you can photocopy a signature so easily and apply it to pretty much anything. Like, like I said, I know this is stupid, but I'm not saying that like they couldn't, all the nefarious things, they wouldn't need you to actually sign the piece of paper in order to commit most of them. If they're committing fraud, if they're committing some sort of fraudulent activity, they can do it without you literally signing a blank piece of paper.
But don't you realize, Derek, that when you actually sign your name onto something, that's putting a little bit of your soul into it?
I guess technically, yes. So are you saying it's not the signature itself, it's the signing amount of soul that is imparted onto the paper by
Exactly.
signing?
And so what this person needs to do is they need to keep just signing blank pieces of paper over and over and over again until they get a Kia subcompact hatchback.
What? Wait, what?
If you
Okay,
take
I'm
a little
not
bit
sure
of
I
soul
make the
over and
connection.
over and over again, then eventually you have to add up to a whole soul.
But I mean, sure, but it's not like you are creating pieces of soul. You are imparting pieces of soul onto this paper. So are you saying that you are literally giving up your soul to have a Kia soul?
I thought that's how the whole Kia thing worked, Derek.
I mean, going to the dealership and talking to them and coming out with a great amount of debt. Like, yes, I do feel that I did leave my soul in their hands, but
I mean, the light's been out of your eyes for a little while now, so I just figured that's how you did it.
no, that's because
I don't know. I don't buy new cars, Derek.
No, the light being out of my eyes has nothing to do with my soul. It's about the diet, but no. So I mean, what I was thinking is that yes, you're right. I think that the imparting a piece of the soul onto the paper is an important component to this. So because you would not sign the warning paragraph, I believe that they are wanting this small piece of soul that they can then maybe like tear off your signature from the paper and roll it up and like, I don't know, maybe create a voodoo doll with it or something. Some sort of cult-based magic.
That's what this is. Definitely.
So what should they be on the lookout for? Because I feel like people stabbing voodoo dolls with pins is a little bit played out. What should they be on the lookout for to know and confirm that this is indeed some sort of cult-based ritualistic thing?
Well, I mean, I've been sick on and off for the last 3 months, and I'm realizing that I, too, signed a blank sheet of paper a few months ago, and I think what's going on is someone has rolled that up and put it into a voodoo doll, and they're just rubbing it on bathroom doorknobs.
I think you are exactly right, and honestly, that's what I was thinking. That they gave this voodoo doll a Frank signature suppository, and they've just been rubbing this on all the doorknobs, on maybe some toilet seats, which that imparts some sort of matter that we don't necessarily want on our clean voodoo dolls. We want germs, not particulates. So mostly doorknobs, door handles, like for the refrigerator, things like that.
Yeah, those are pretty filthy.
Yeah. But take them into movie theaters a lot and just kind of throw them through the air a little bit to catch all of that floating particulate or floating microbes that people are ejecting all the time. Yeah.
I mean, you just hold it out in front of you, you look at it, and you're like, you deserve this. And then you drop the voodoo doll onto the theater floor.
Oh,
that's
man.
The worst floor.
Oh, like all of a sudden this person is sitting, like on their, just on the couch at home, and all of a sudden they just feel sticky all over.
Yeah. They're just sticky forever.
It's like, oh God. Oh my God. I think you have solved it. Like, that's the worst punishment. Like getting stabbed by pins. Fuck that. That's, ooh, ow, that hurt. Fine, whatever. Somebody making me eternally and inexplicably sticky. maybe the worst thing I can imagine. Like, because being sticky or being, I don't know, like moisture level and stickiness level is something I very closely monitor. So this could be a nightmare for me.
Oh yeah, no, this is the worst possible.
Oh no. This is so okay. So now that we know what they're going to do, something has to be done to stop it. What can they do to stop this before it happens?
I mean, the only thing that you can do is have a hoodoo battle.
So, I mean, do they? I don't think this person's boss would be foolish enough to then turn around and sign a blank piece of paper that Susan had offered them. So how can they get that piece of soul that they're going to need to do the hoodoo battle?
I mean, you're gonna have to form some sort of gris-gris, and I think
what?
A talisman.
Ah, okay, sure.
A focus for sympathetic magic.
Sure.
As one does, Derek.
I mean, you're the professional here. I'll follow your lead.
They're gonna need some like hair clippings or nail clippings.
Okay.
A good source for this is if they have a comb or a brush in their office, you can just go in and lift some.
Yeah.
And then it's whoever is going to take their imbued voodoo doll and drop it on the theater floor first.
So it is imperative that you act fast.
And you have to be ruthless because this person is probably going to start slow. They're gonna rub it on a couple of doorknobs and just gauge things. You're just gonna have to go all out and go straight to the theater. Yeah,
because if you start feeling the tickle in the back of your throat from being, the beginning of a sickness, that means they're escalating, and
it's already started.
It's already started. So you have no time to waste.
You're gonna have to go right to see Alita Battle Angel at the Dollar Theater.
I was going to ask what movie they should go see for this purpose.
I think that would be the best one.
I think it is, because you will in no way be distracted by what's going on the screen at all. No risk.
And the Dollar Theater is the one that's most regularly cleaned and has got the best in terms of sanitary seats.
I didn't even think about that. Like, the only thing I thought about was like, it's like, yeah, that's a good choice of movie, good choice of theater, so it won't be expensive. But your reasoning behind it is far superior, but far more nefarious. Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure those floors still have some new Coke on them.
Some Crystal Pepsi.
Yep.
Oh boy. Oof. So yeah, I mean, you take that you take that talisman. What'd you call it? A Gris?
Yeah.
Gris. Go get Cray with that Gris and throw it directly onto the Dollar Theater floor.
Want to punch the clock, Derek?
I believe we need to, because I'm starting to worry. And I don't want to obsess about it, but I am concerned that at some point I have signed something for you that you are saving in escrow for when I get too uppity, and you will make my own Gris and throw me on a floor to get sticky. And I'm not sure if I should be proactive and beat you to the punch, but
Don't worry, Derek. I wouldn't do anything like that to you.
But you kind of would, be honest. I mean, maybe not like right now since we're actively recording a podcast, but like there's a whole lot of time throughout the week that we're not recording a podcast that me being sticky could be a positive thing for you. That sounds really weird when you say it like that.
I was going to say, Derek, I'm starting to get uncomfortable with...
Just, I can imagine that it is a boon for you to know that somewhere, somehow, Derek Lewis is sticky. Like, that's not weird. It's just practical.
Man, I wish I was well.
See, what you don't know is that you have signed something for me. And
You bastard.
I've been rubbing all the doorknobs with your tiny little Frank Eastman face. Boy, that's weird to say too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Before we go, please send us your questions. We love the questions. We want to make much funny from them. Some funny from them.
A socially acceptable amount of funny.
Yes, an acceptable amount of funny. And we can't do that if we don't have them. So think of that funny life or work-related story or question and send them to questions@WLIcast.com. If you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/WLIcast and become a patron. In addition to supporting us as creators, you will also get some cool WLI swag to impress your coworkers with. Also, check out our website at WLIcast.com, where you'll find links to our social media, merch store, and work-life imbalance related news. And please do us a solid and tell someone you know about the show. Getting more listeners and growing our audience will only mean good things, so please do your part and spread the word.
This has been the Work-Life Imbalance Podcast. I'm Frank Eastman.
I'm the ever-sticky Derek Lewis.
And with that, I think we're going to have to transfer you.
Hi, I'm Derek Lewis, and I am constantly sticky.
Do you find yourself constantly sticky? Do you have inexplicable pains in your stomach? At any point, have you found yourself throwing up cherry pits uncontrollably? Then you too may be the focus of dark voodoo.